All right, so I am going to be showing you a bit about how I go about mapping, geological mapping that is, and this is a part of me working the geo reconnaissance on behalf of OB Fitness. Yes, so pay attention. All right, so the first thing I want you to take note of is that I am doing this observation through my car. What it is that I want you to see is that that is an outcrop. If you can look here, you will see that this outcrop has gaps in between it, and it pretty much shows that there's a lot of cracking of this outcrop. So this indicates that this is a highly fractured outcrop, and this gives some suggestions in terms of the stress environment. In other words, that this is more than likely a zone of folding slash faulting. All right, so what I'm showing you now is where there is potentially a gap in terms of the geology. Um, so you can see that there is this retaining wall here, and there's quite a bit of distance between, let's just say, this retaining wall, right, and there is this banking here. So definitely there is more than likely some activity taking place to create this kind of a difference between the two. So where I'm at now is at a change in the geology, and this is a zone of alluvium. All right, so the nature of this alluvium, based on what it is I'm looking at here, generally we can see these fragments here, and this indicates that this alluvium is primarily made up of that of carbonate rocks. All right, so now we can notice that there is a change taking place. I can see outcrop to the flanks here. So this is what we call a contact zone. Yeah, man, so definitely you look through, you can see the nature of the soil there, so, and then you can see this right here, and that's carbonate outcrop. So this is definitely a contact zone. So this is a retaining wall, good retaining wall. You can see that there are gaps in there, holes in there for drainage flow. And the reason for that is because if you look above, there is that outcrop. You may not be able to see it, but it's fractured, it's folded, and in essence it indicates that it is a weakened outcrop that is susceptible for failure. So this is to be noted in my mapping. this juncture of a mapping, I interpret this era as another era of change from the weathered carbonate geology, and we're now coming into close contact with non-carbonate geology. So those hills represent non-carbonate. We can see bamboo. Right here, you can see a retaining wall, relatively flat here, and then you can see the hill of that direction. So definitely is representing that we're entering into a transitional zone in terms of the geology. All right, so the previous section you heard me mention that we're in a transitional zone. So I just traveled a further 100 to 200 meters, and this is now the nature of the geology. So we can see that this is no longer carbonate outcrop, highly weathered, and this appears to be volcanic clastic. I mean, we can see rounded class, yeah, volcanics, yeah. So this is where we're at. All right, so right here, so we can see bulging in the retaining wall. So we can see that definitely this is a zone of weakness. Repair is needed. Morning, sir.
All right.
Right, so right here, so now we can see change in the rocks again. That's a tributary. These I sum it up as volcanics, but not as weathered. You can see that they are very massive. So it may be a part of the same volcanic rock type that I would have observed earlier, which would have been weathered, but obviously we can see that this is not as weathered. So probably belongs to the same volcanic group, but I still interpret it as a difference when it comes to my geological mapping. So up the hill we climb. This is generally what is required when it comes to mapping. Good old hiking, you know. Yeah. Yeah, man, nice view that over there. So nice view that. So here now is an outcrop that is mappable, or rather where we can capture strike and dip. We can see joints. Yeah, you can see the flow. And in terms of the rock, can't really see any much class. Hence why I classify this as volcanic. So this is what I classify as a ghost indicator of a plane, dipping plane of the rock strata. Ghost because right here no longer exists. More than likely it has been eroded, but yet still you see it there. But you can see the great impression that still remains. Beautiful. Yeah, so this is apartheid. Hot sun, dog rushing. Yeah, man. This is a part of the field work. So, when it comes to doing the recon work, afraid of going through the bushes, coming in contact with animals, this is not for you. So this is a perfect highlight of a bidirectional stress field representation. You can see the class, one of them gone one direction, another set tilting the other direction. So this represents the highlight of the stress field, or where tectonic activity is concentrated, and as such the rocks align themselves specific to where that energy dominates. So this can even also be a smaller scale representation of a folding system of this overall rock strata that I'm mapping. You can even look at that as a representation of an anticline. All right, so this is continuing the journey. This is a reason why conducting recon is important before any excursion. Yeah, more than likely this is remnants of Melissa. So oh, so this looks like a pipe, I believe, connected to the Hermitage Dam. So like I said, this is a part of the journey when it comes to mapping, doing recon. Oh wow. Yeah, you have to make sure you conduct your own footwork. Indeed, this is what makes it very exciting, going out and just engaging with nature, and at the same time looking at how nature changes with the passing of time. Beautiful. Now here is something interesting in terms of Jamaica's geology. So you can look here, this can interpret it as volcaniclastic, yes, and we can see volcanics, no real highlight of minerals in terms of the class, but then now we see this white, creamish white class, and this I interpret as granodiorite or a granitoid in the field. So seeing these black rounded mafic volcanic, and at the same time there are those green, this is representing subduction. So definitely this is indicating that this area is an area that would have been birthed in a subduction zone, where two plates collide, one goes underneath each other. The green rocks is considered as ophiolite or ophiolite mixing. The black colors indicate that there is a high degree of iron, but at the same time, when we look at these cream colors, it indicates a high degree of silica. So we're talking about, some form of mixing of lava, or the magma rather, that's what we call that magma fractionation, right? So it just gives an indication that Jamaica's geology, in terms of the birth of it, is not just a straight, one zone is subduction zone and another zone is mid-oceanic spreading or rifting, if you will, where you have upwelling. There is a degree of complexity in that respect, you know, subduction with silica related or silica dominant rocks, minerals, and at the same time we have high iron slash magnesium rocks within the same area. That's very, very intriguing. So it appears that I am now at the dam. Let's see if I can give you a good look. Oh wow, getting there. Well, so I need some redoing. Wow. Look like somebody over there doing fishing. Very nice. So you can continue. Not gonna lie still. Not gonna lie. Legs them feel kinda light, you know. I walk on them part here. You know, not heavy breeze. Boom, just to look down there so. Yeah man, my foot them feel light, man. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. I stay straight now, Michael. When I go too close to the edge over this at all. Wow. 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 See if we can get over there. As the saying goes, don't look down. In terms of even for this spot to be, you know, preserved as a dam, it's very intriguing from a geologic point of view, you know. Just looking at this flat space, you know, it's almost like it's a graben, you know, where nearby faults, based on their movement, yielded this relative basin, you know, and then obviously from an engineering point of view, we just take advantage of it and use it as a capture point for water. So very, 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 very beautiful to watch it from this point of view, and this is another angle. That's where I'm coming from. Wow. As the sign says, no swimming allowed. Understandable. You know, yeah. So onward I trek. We'll have to go through a whole heap of them bamboo. Don't know if this is natural, but we know that bamboo is a thing where can catch a fire when it comes to hot time. Alright, so we still have to continue. So the sound of the water suggests I'm getting near. So it appears I've come across another spot. Water pump spot, I believe. National Water Commission.
So this is the current geology map for the area I covered, Stony Hill through to Hermitage Dam. You'll notice some areas are blank, so that's because those are the areas I did not cover with my mapping. This is just a general key for the colors that you would have observed in the previous clip. So all of this overall gives a description of what it is that I observed whilst in the field.